first we started with your background, like how you get educated, how you became a Chinese medicine doctor, and what else do we talk about?
Well, we talk about some interesting cases, like what have we seen, and also the philosophy of my practice. And I think I spend a lot more time talking about my philosophy than the cases.
No problem. I think that's so crucial.
Yeah. And we also talk about my philosophy of food and relationship with food, or the health condition, and also I gave everybody a little tip about how to be healthy.
Welcome to Chai with Ping. This is Ping Robert. In this podcast, I cover underrepresented and personal stories. Join me with a cup of chai and take a listen.
All right, I'm gonna start.
Okay.
Welcome back to Chai with Ping. My name is Ping Robert, and welcome back to the show. I feature immigrant stories, international students, or all sorts of kind of minoritized issues. So if you have a good guest, you can kind of refer to me. But if you're listening, please do make sure that you follow and subscribe. It's free. And then when you follow and subscribe and like my channel, that is just a little support that you will show me on my back end. I can see the statistics and I know that you're listening. And today, we have a Chinese medicine doctor, and she has already been on my Mandarin side of the channel. And today we're just going to make this episode in English because she practiced here in Colorado, and we would like to reach out to more of the general public and talk about alternative health resources in Colorado. Let's welcome Dr. Wang.
Hi everyone. This is Dr. Tzeching Wang from Lakewood, Colorado, and I'm happy to spend a beautiful Saturday morning with Ping, and kind of spread the word. Kind of provide my knowledge in Chinese medicine, and hopefully it can help people.
Before we dive into alternative medicine, Dr. Wang, I would like to have you share a little bit about your background and why you choose to focus, or what you choose to focus on in the medicine field.
I see. I'm very happy to. So my background, all I know, since I was 18, the only thing I know is Chinese medicine. I started my Chinese medicine study when I was 18 as a mentee, like a student in Chinese medicine, and follow a mentor. And ever since then, even though my degree, my college degree was not in Chinese medicine, but from following a mentor and study, side by side with him, the experience was valuable, so valuable, because you get to know like the detail, the philosophy, the medicine, and you get to know how to treat a patient, from the get-go. So instead, dive into medical school like other people. I think I'm one of the lucky one, because you learn more this way. You learn how to be a doctor from day one instead of how to study from day one. And after graduated from college in Taiwan, I kind of feel like, well, this is the way I wanted to go. It's not easy, and I had to be honest, because I failed my test going to medical school once, and I feel like, oh, that's just too much. And then, luckily, I was offered scholarship to study in China, and so I went to the traditional Chinese medicine university in Shenyang, the traditional Chinese medicine university of Liaoning province, and which they focus a lot on the traditional classic Chinese medicine. And it was also a very good, very interesting and good experience, because that's like a formal medical school training. You get to study, because in China you have to study both medicine and then pick one later. So I was also immersed in the Western medicine study and as well as Chinese medicine study. So from there, like I said, all I know is Chinese medicine since I was 18. And I found that my passion is starting to grow more and more with women's health, because women woman's health. Woman is like kind of like the center of the society, the foundation of the family and the community. So like mother in the household, if the mother is not healthy, usually the household is very likely not be healthy as well. Not to dismay the importance of women. In fact, it actually shows us how important we are as women, to keep this community, our family, our circle of friends and relatives, and influence them with our health, our wellness. So the health and wellness. I always feel that the health and wellness of the society or community starts with women, and women happen to be more mindful and conscious about how their health is. So that's why I like to focus on that.
And so, since when did you move to Colorado in practice?
So I moved to Colorado. I moved here 2011. And it was a very interesting move because of the immigration status. I was not able to work for 4 years, but I volunteer my time in the community, in a shelter, and provide, so kind of like free consultation at that point. I mean, I was licensed very, very early on, so luckily I was able to provide consultation. I just could not work and make money, but I was able to volunteer, and I did see that in shelters that if the mother is healthy or healthier, usually you can see that the people around them, including their kids, are healthier, relatively healthier. So it really is like a big inspiration for me as well.
That statement just kind of got me to think about, in marriage, there's this famous sentence saying, happy wife, happy life. And I'm saying maybe in your term, it could be a healthy mom, healthy home. And then I do agree. I think mom is a very centered role in a family because they usually provide food and kind of set the boundaries of what to eat and what not to eat. And I think I benefit from my mother because she's very health conscious. So then I know what to pick for my family now after I'm married. So then we're gonna shift gears to a little bit about your practice here and how did you start your clinic? Is a clinic or a wellness center, right?
It is a clinic right now, and of course, my ultimate goal is to turn it into a wellness center, and because like we just talked about that the importance of women's health actually set the backbone of the society, but you don't just start to be healthy when you become a mom. It starts way early. I would even say as early as elementary school, or even earlier. Be conscious about your own body and wellness. It's just that, of course, physiologically, biologically, that woman is, tend to have different hormonal system and different physiological function. So that's what I want to focus on this. So that is kind of set the tone for the wellness of the community. However, after I was granted my residency and citizenship, I was able to work, and I started with working for Kaiser, which is a very amazing place to work, and but from there it kind of like get my foot wet and to get to know the patients in America. However, I am someone that doesn't like to sit still. It's like I'm itchy to do something that is my own, build something that is my own, because I've been a clinician for 12 years, 13 years. And it's like, yeah, I was working for a hospital back then, and I'm working for a hospital now. It's not really that much different. But how about what I want to do? Do I want to just be a clinician for the rest of my life, or do I want to take on different challenges? And I chose the later one. So I want to take on different challenges. I want to build something that is my own, and not just come into the office and start seeing patient and get the paycheck and clock out. I want something that is, that it's like I can leave a legacy in this world. Yeah. So that's why, I want to, I want to start with a clinic, a small clinic. Right now it's still pretty small because I only have 2 acupuncturists and, 1 MN work, and that's it. So, it's not a very big clinic, but my goal is to, it's to provide a place for the students, whether it's Chinese medicine or Western medicine medical school student that is interested in Chinese medicine, to be able to come and study and do research, and also provide a place to, kind of like a school research center, and also hopefully one day that we can have our own manufacturing of Chinese medicine in the future, so that we can get the best quality of herbs.
Yeah. Okay. Was it easy when you first started? Because
No.
that's like shifting into, a corporate world into self-employing. And I know firsthand, I was a tutor, so that it was not so easy to find students. Even I have the skills, like you have the skills. How did you find or reach out to the patients?
Well, I have to say, being an entrepreneur is really not that easy. Not easy at all, because I was making, regarding of, financial, from the financial standpoint, that I was making about 4 times more when I was working for Kaiser. And right now, of course, right now things are changing for the good, but it was so hard to start, a practice, because all I did was just Google how to start a clinic, and I got like tons of information. I have to set up a business entity. I have to set up a bank account. I had to start, spread the word out, and because nobody knows about me. And, from there, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This is not what because this is not what they say. Because they say, if you build it, they will come. And it's like, the first 6 months, nobody comes in.
Yeah.
But people will stop by and say, oh, so you are what? And and I'm like, well, this is a Chinese medicine acupuncture clinic. Say, oh, so what is acupuncture? And because I had that expectation that at least a lot of people would, or a good handful of people would know, but no. And but the fun part of being an entrepreneur and clinician is that you are taking different challenges. It's kind of like a different part of the brain is working. Yeah. And I like that. I really enjoyed it. Not that it was fun. It was more of like, I don't know that I'm able to do this. and that when I really take on the challenge and then pass it, it's like, oh, so I am actually not that dumb. So I'm able to take the challenge and conquer it. So I think that's the fun part of it. And it really exercises different part of the brain.
I know, like, especially from being a practitioner or a doctor, like you can only focus on medicine practices and all that. But like later, as you just mentioned, becoming an entrepreneur, you need to have a business mind. You need to know, how to promote or how to manage the whole clinic. I'm curious to know, because the backdrop of Colorado is the Asian population is only 3%, even till 2021. So are there any common doubts or myths about Eastern medicine or Chinese medicine here?
Actually, the misconception or the doubts are universal. It's not just from Asians or Caucasian or Latino or Black community. Actually, I have all those. I have Asian patients, Latino patients, Caucasian patients, and patients from Black community. They, it's very easy. It's very common to have doubts, and it's very easy to have doubts because when it's a Western medicine dominating society, then of course anything that is not in the norm of Western medicine, you kind of like, I'm not quite sure what it is, and should I try it? How do I know it works? So it's very common, and I see that also as a challenge as well, because it's my job to educate the community and say, okay, this is what Chinese medicine is about. It's not crystal healing. And not that, I have anything to say with the crystal healing, but it is different, right? It is different from it. So yeah, and I'm sure it works in different part of the body or a different way.
Yeah.
And this is not Ayurvedic medicine, although we have common, we have things in common. This is not homeopathy, although there are some philosophy that we can communicate with each other. But Chinese medicine is Chinese medicine, so it's different, and or the uniqueness is still there. So it's my job to educate the public, the community, big or small, and to spread the word. Like what is Chinese medicine? And I enjoy that. And I didn't really think about it. I didn't enjoy it as much before as a clinician. I was more like, oh, I need to do another educational series. I need to do some like PSA, it's like, that's just part, one extra job. But as an entrepreneur, this is actually good. It feels good because I can pick the topic I like, not assign the topic. I can talk about it the way I want to talk about, because I have my own philosophy in Chinese medicine. Just like even Western medicine, doctor, even though there's a lot of conformity in Western medicine, but their style, their philosophy would be different. So because of that, it's like, okay, if you're doing things for yourself, it's like you put the passion in it, you put the enthusiasm in it, and it's not tiring. It's fun. So yeah, even if there's doubt, it's okay. Just bring it on, or I'll take the challenge.
I can definitely hear that passion in you, Dr. Wang, about sharing the good information and educating the public. So I just want to put it out there. If listeners, you're interested to find Dr. Wang and her clinic, you can find it on Facebook. So you can search Eastern Wellness Denver, and you can find her page. And she also has a website. It's www.easternwellnesscolorado.com.
Right.
Yeah. So it is, and the location is in Lakewood. So
yes, it's in Lakewood.
If you happen to be in Colorado.
Right. And even if you're somewhere else in Colorado other than Lakewood and it's not accessible, I also offer telehealth. So if you have the health need, and definitely, just reach out to us. We offer free consultation, before you make any decision to book any appointment. We offer 15 minutes consultation so that you get to know me and my practice a little better.
That's so awesome. I think one of the good thing about COVID is to help us to explore different options for health and for whatever online. And so, cool. Following on, I do have some questions around like, how did you help women or your patients specifically? You can give us some examples about like how you treat them and what are their common issues and how did that turn out?
So, lately, especially after COVID, most of 99.9% of my patients are women, because I focus on women's health. However, in women's health is such a big range of health issue. It could be from hormonal imbalance or infertility, like hormone imbalance. You can have endometriosis, PCOS, or like oligomenorrhea, or menstrual migraine, PMS, to sleep disorder, anxiety, or autoimmune. So it's actually a wide range of health issues that we treat regarding of women. However, since pandemic, I seeing a lot more of an emotional disorder, like anxiety and depression, and sleep issue, like I have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, things like this. And even with pain, the pain in women is very different. The way that we treat pain in women is very different than pain in our male friends, male patients. So I see more connection in women's health. Like every health issue is not isolated in women's health, more than in other community, other group. And so one of it is, like right now, the very big thing is sleep, like, the sleep quality. the sleep duration, the initiation of sleep, and the maintenance of the sleep. So it like and we all know that COVID time or the pandemic time is just not. It's just one extra layer of the regular stress and things that we need to do. So, however, I see this pandemic as a chance to really reflect on our health, not just sit there and say, "Oh my goodness, this is scary. What should we do? There's nothing we can do. We just have to wait. We have to be passively just sit at home and wait until it passes." I don't think it's a good attitude to deal with this situation, because for every challenge that we take on in our life, whether it's from external or internal, it's also a very good time to reflect ourselves. Like, oh, so actually, we should be, we should take a more proactive role in make sure that we sleep enough, we are eating healthy, we are eating clean, we are getting enough sunshine, we are getting enough exercise every day, so that if it really hit us, we can get through it a lot faster without any damage. And I see that in my practice. I see that it's almost night and day. People really are conscious about their health. When they do, unfortunately, if they do get COVID, they are not hit as bad. And versus some patients that they are just not they are not as conscious about their health. When the COVID hit, it's a lot worse. So we have a choice, in a time like this, that do we want to choose to be healthy, or do we want to choose to be not healthy? And so I think this is my philosophy in practice. Whether it's for sleep, whether it's for anxiety or hormonal imbalance or pain, it doesn't matter. It's like whenever a patient comes in, I always want to ask, what do you want to choose? And of course, most of them would choose, I want to be healthy. But how? Now is the how. That's the real question that we need to ask. How? Because we feel that, a lot of time we feel that, I'm doing enough to get healthy. Why am I still feeling this way? Well, then we have to come back and ask ourselves and examine ourselves, what is missing? Because we're human, we don't know everything. That's why you need a professional to step in and say, hey, what is missing? Let's trace back. Let's look back on our lifestyle, our relationship, our way of treating ourselves and treating others around us. Do we dedicate too much time at work? Do we just feel that, okay, we can miss a meal and it will be okay? Or do we want to just sit around and watch TV all day and just exercise for 10 minutes in a day and feel that it's enough? So everybody needs a little different. And I think the beauty of Chinese medicine is that because everybody's need is different. And this is embedded in the philosophy of Chinese medicine. So we have, like, customization is a big thing in Chinese medicine. Not everybody, you and I, we would need different formula, even though we could get common cold, but we will need different treatment, different nutrients, different herbs, even though both of us are getting the same strain of bacterial virus for common cold. So I always want to look at what is this patient is missing in her life first.
Can you share an example? Like, so I believe that many patients will come to you and thinking they probably have this problem, but I'm pretty sure that after your examination and consulting sessions, then you probably find something else from what they what they knew. So is there any example that you can share with us?
Oh, it's very interesting, because one of a patient's image just popped up on my mind, and I have so many of these, but this one is one of the most impressive ones. So this patient, a middle-aged woman, came in with urine urgency. So that kind of urine urgency was like, if she took a sip of water, she has to use the restroom in 5 minutes. And the doctor said, well, it's pelvic floor, tension. So she went through gynecologist, pelvic floor specialist. So go through and even take medication to kind of help her to hold the urine. Nothing really helps. However, when she came in, I told her that this is actually anxiety. Of course, legally I cannot straightly diagnose because it has to go through the doctor. And one of the diagnoses she got from doctor was anxiety, but nobody really. Well, she was put on the medication to help with it, but it didn't work. So I did tell her that this is actually anxiety, and I did go back and look at what is causing the anxiety, because she said that it got so much worse last year, and that is like a bell starting to ding. It just went ding. So I started to dig in and ask her, so what happened? What actually happened last year? So after COVID, she was not able to sleep. She was so afraid to get sick, and she would not leave home, and she didn't exercise because it's kind of like she was just afraid to touch everything, and she could not even eat. And so it's like one thing after another. So the patient started with, anxiety, and then she's starting to deplete it with nutrient. And then she's been sitting around. In Chinese medicine, we call it like a qi and blood stagnation because it's just not moving. The energy is not moving smoothly. And then one thing leads to another, the function is starting to get impacted. And it just happened to be that it's the urinary function that's impacted. So it was just horrible because her quality of life was just so terrible. But I believe that if it weren't for she got to the point and that her quality of life is just so bad, and she happened to have somebody refer her to me, she would not even leave the house. She will probably she was telling me that actually she had to wear a diaper all day just to prevent the leakage. And I was like, okay, so let's take a look. So you're afraid of getting COVID. So how about that start with boosting your immunity? Because that's, if you have a strong immunity, then you don't have to worry about it. But the treatment is actually not focusing on, because at that point, she is not going to believe it's just anxiety because she went through rounds of doctor. And so she has that kind of doubt. I'm like, okay, so how about that's just boost the immunity? So the boosting immunity is actually helping her to sleep better because she couldn't sleep. So by acupuncture, a lot of time the first few treatment, a lot of time the patient can immediately feel that the quality of sleep starting to improve. And that's where we started. So like I said, everybody's a little different. You really need to find what the patient needs. But by sleeping better, she's starting to feel like, oh, so I'm not tired. I'm not feeling kind of weak or cold all the time. And then we can go from there. And then treating her anxiety. And then from there, the urgency starting to get less and less until about 4 weeks out of the treatment. She was like, I don't think I need to come anymore. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to come anymore because right now you're doing fine. Because she could sit there and say, well, Dr. Wang, I'm kind of thirsty. Can I have a cup of water? And then she would start drinking the water. And about 30 minutes, I asked her, do you need to use the bathroom? And she's like, wait a minute, I don't need to. So it's amazing that, she had that kind of result, and I'm happy for her. So, yeah. So like I said, everybody's a little different, but in Chinese medicine, it's always focusing on the flow of energy, the flow of qi and blood, the tonifying of the function, or reduce the excessive waste. That's like four big principle of Chinese medicine.
Fascinating. Wow. Yeah, that was what I was asking, because I felt like in China, I grew up in that kind of culture. Having Chinese medicine is quite common in Taiwan, but I just felt like coming here to the US, a lot of people will kind of just go for a supplement when there's a problem, or go for a doctor and ask for a medicine and kind of just hoping taking a pill will get everything away. But like from what you're sharing is like in Chinese medicine, we kind of go around the issue to see if there's any root causes. And I think that's so important because would you consider your practice more holistic in a way?
Yeah, I would say so, because we're not just looking into what the problem is, like just simply urine urgency or back pain or painful menstruation. We also look at, the emotion, the relationship of this patient and her community, and also the relationship of this patient and herself, or them, or themselves. So it's I would say it's holistic, because it's not just one thing or one problem. Everything is connected. We have the mindset that everything is connected, so we have to kind of look around and even look back what happened in the past.
Before the interview, we were talking about having different foods in the U.S. is different from like where we're from Taiwan or from China or from Asia, and you mentioned the nutrients in the food is not as much as before. And actually, I've seen a documentary on Netflix on they compare the food right now. The nutrients is not as much as like maybe 100 years ago. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course, I'm not an agricultural expert, so I can only share with my limited knowledge about that. So there are a lot of health condition. I would not even call it illness, but health condition that that I would say attribute to the deficiency of micronutrient. I think that macronutrient, meaning that the nutrient that produce calorie, it's quite abundant, because you can increase the starchy content of a corn or wheat, or the increased protein content in beans. It's very easily done. However, micronutrient has to come from the soil, and it's not very easy to replenish it. And in America, thanks to the refrigeration system and transportation, we get to eat different food. However, I think it's not. I think the center of the agricultural, the philosophy of agricultural practice here is focusing on macronutrient, not micronutrient. So the nutrient level of what we eat right now, especially in fresh fruit and vegetable, is really a lot less. And because it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because we have refrigeration system, so people will just buy the grocery, which has been stored in the store for weeks before they get sold out. And then when we put it in the refrigerator, we're like, okay, we'll just leave it and forget it. So it could be sitting there for a whole week. Nobody, really touch it. And then, but every minute that it was, the fruit and vegetable was plucked from the, from the soil, the nutrient, it gets depleting, especially micronutrient. So it's like the freshness is really incomparable, because, both of us are from Taiwan, right? You and I are from Taiwan. It's such a small island. So a lot of time we like to, and it's kind of in our culture as well. Like we would like to eat fresh. But here it's like, okay, the fresh, it seems like it's really not that comparable. But Taiwan is also a volcanic island. So with a volcanic island, you got more micronutrient, just like Hawaii. So the fruit and vegetable, even if it's the same thing, it tastes a lot different in Hawaii. Would you agree? Right. So yeah, so it's like, so here, but people are so used to fruit and vegetable not being fresh, though I don't think a lot of people can tell the difference unless they are used to eating farm fresh, vegetable. So that's what I'm concerned, because we can eat lots of calorie, yet we are depleted with micronutrient. And that can lead to a lot of health condition, which might not be illness yet, but it could, very likely could.
Is there any common issues that women will encounter because they live here in Colorado, and probably it's because of the food they eat or climate they're in?
I would say even like as simple as anxiety, because of a magnesium is deficient in the soil in Colorado, and also like we have copper, but we don't have a lot of zinc here because it's inland. So like the fatigue, the chronic fatigue could be linked to the zinc deficiency and like acne. So things like that. So it's very interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of, the magnesium can really stabilize our nerve health so that we're not always anxious and nervous all the time. And zinc is like a coenzyme for a lot of function in our body. So so just simply as that, even with zinc can help stabilize the blood sugar. So as simple as that, it's like, yet, whatever we grow here is kind of deficient in the micronutrient.
Yeah, and you also mentioned about the meats with the fat is different.
I think, because if you compare, and this is not, I have to say this is from my observation as living almost a decade here in America, is that first of all, the portion of a meat is a lot larger than what we used to in Asia, back in Asia. Would you agree? So it's like people are more meat eating. It's a more meat eating culture than Asian. Not that I'm saying that it's bad. However, I think the content, the fattiness of the meat does make a difference, because I just see that the meat here, even with a farm raised, and I cannot speak for every farm because I only order from one farm, so I cannot speak for every farm, but even the farm raised meat still seems to be fattier than what we used to in Asia. So just by the fat content, it's concerning, because fat, of course, we need fat in our diet. However, too much of it can lead to a lot of issues, not to mention high cholesterol, and it can also disrupt the balance, the hormonal balance in our system. So that's what I'm concerned, because the lean part of the meat is important, but the fatty part is important. So how do we get the good fat, and in just enough, not too much, to keep us healthy, but not cause a problem?
Can I ask an extra question? Because
Sure.
nowadays a lot of people are talking about sugar is worse than fat. What do you think about sugar intake?
Well, in a way, I agree with that, because fat, if you have enough fat, it actually sends a signal to our brain and tell us, okay, we need to stop eating because we're quite full. It's actually very fulfilling. So it's very hard to eat a pound of fat, except in fried food. If you have the batter that absorbs all fat, that's a different story. However, it's very hard to eat a pound of butter, right? It's kind of disgusting, because human beings are not built that way. We process sugar a lot easier because our brain needs glucose, needs sugar to process, to maintain the function of it. So we are designed to crave for sugar, but it's very easy to, because it's water soluble. So it's very easy to drink a gallon of sugar if we are not paying attention. Would you agree? So it's like, okay, one soda here, one soda here, one soda here, and then throughout the day, you have a close to 200 grams of sugar. Probably not a pound of sugar, but like 200, 300 grams of sugar. But if you feel that, is it that easy to eat about 500 grams or 300 grams of fat? Like even, counting in spoonful, it's like a lot. So it's very easy sugar consumption is a lot easier to achieve. However, because it's so accessible, it's so satisfying and addicting, it is more dangerous, because we can overconsume it without knowing that we're doing things that is bad for our health. And sugar, of course, nowadays we're talking about inflammation, we're talking about metabolism. So I would say, if it's not complex sugar, it's very bad for you. So that's why I would suggest that if we can avoid, especially sugar in the drink, would be the best, and be conscious about it, because it's just so easy for us to overconsume on sugar.
Wait. So what you're saying is like complex sugar is better than pure sugar?
Than simple sugar.
Is like white sugar, that kind of thing?
Right, like white sugar, simple carbs,
Or
like
sweet drinks.
Sweet drinks, yeah.
Got it.
Right.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. Cool. So we talked about issues or your practice, your background, and are there any tips from a Chinese medicine doctor that you can give us for self-care and all?
Yes, of course. One of the thing is actually sugar related. I think that one of the tip I like to give all my patients or audience is that keep your blood sugar stable. That's tip number one. Doesn't matter if you have diabetes or you're prone to diabetes. Doesn't matter even if you don't have diabetes. Keep your blood sugar stable. What does that mean, or how do we do it? First of all, we need to kind of examine ourselves or ask ourselves, how do we react when we take too much sugar? Because everybody has, unless you're really, really like 100% self-conscious, health conscious. Otherwise, you're going to have that experience if you have too much sugar. What does your body does, or what is your body trying to tell you? Like for me, I was starting to feel really tired and heavy when I have too much sugar. And and I'm talking about more than 25 grams a day. And so if I'm eating a lot of like more than 25 grams of sugar a day, I'll start feeling really heavy. And everybody's a little different. Like my son can be very jumpy. But for me, I feel like, I'm just so tired and I will feel sluggish. So I was starting to examine, okay, what did I do that day to make me feel that way? So first start with examine yourself and then kind of take a note, like how do you react with sugar? Because some people are not as sensitive, but I'm pretty sensitive. So that's what I would suggest people to kind of take the note first. How do you react with sugar? And then second, so is skipping meal a good idea? I know that intermittent fasting is pretty hot right now, and I am a semi-proponent for that. However, there are some people that is like, if their blood sugar hasn't been stable, intermittent fasting can make it even worse. So, and of course, it's a big topic, so we might be able to talk about that later. But if we are skipping meal and then you're starting to feel like, okay, why am I getting hungry and starting to have hypoglycemic feeling, then that would not be a good idea. And then your blood sugar dropped too low. And then a lot of time that when our blood sugar dropped too low, what we usually do is pick up some chips, some high sugar content food, and then start eating it. And then the blood sugar is starting to spike again. So it's like a big no-no if your blood sugar goes like, it's riding on the roller coaster. Yes. It's very bad because your body would be starving. So your body will constantly, or your cell will be constantly either starve or too much, starve or too full. Yeah. It's not a good way for healthy. It actually lead to inflammation. Mm-hmm. Because once your body would have that ability to take sugar in, it very effectively convert it into fat. And that's not something we like. So keep the blood sugar stable is one of the most important tip I will give everybody, whether or not you have diabetes.
Does it include like carbs? Because right now also there's a trend of eating less carbs, keto diet, whatever diet is like carbs lower to the point that we can get.
I am a little more conservative on that. I mean, I tried keto diet myself, and I didn't find that very sustaining. I have doctor friends that try keto diet, and it works well with them. Like for me, I do find that the 25% or even lower carb content in my daily meal, it's not sustaining because I start to feel depressed, and I have really strong body odor. And actually, I was dehydrated. So it's not, it doesn't, it's just like all the diet doesn't work for everybody. So that's why I am not a big proponent for keto diet. However, because carb is so accessible and easy to get, I would say still, if we are not low carb, we need to watch the sugar content because a little bit here and there adds up. And when it adds up, it's like unconsciously adds up and you don't know how much you take in. So I would say if it's a complex carb, like brown rice, whole wheat flour, or a mixture of Like usually if I'm a Taiwanese, so I eat rice, but I don't eat just white rice. I will mix with sprouted rice, quinoa, or any other grains, just to make it not make it as complex as possible instead of just being simple sugar.
Okay. Would you recommend anything to eat or drink or avoid eat and drink?
I would say if you can avoid coffee, it might be a good idea. Like anything caffeine, it might be a good idea. A lot of my patients, however, guilty as charged. I am a coffee drinker, although not very heavy, but okay. I like the aroma. So, but I'm very conscious about, just strictly drink black coffee. And I don't drink coffee to make myself wake up, because it can be very easily overlooked of my state of sleep. Like, so I feel tired, and if I rely coffee to wake myself up, it's very easy to really look back and say, okay, do I sleep well? What caused the fatigue? And so it's kind of like a vicious cycle. If you don't look at the sleep hygiene and you rely on coffee, it's like, then the same problem will get repeated again and again and again. So I would say, if kind of like wine, coffee, I would treat coffee like wine. We only drink it on occasion, but I don't rely on it to help me wake up, to help me keep me alert in the daytime. I don't do that. Yeah, so that's something I would recommend.
It is just so interesting, because I heard so many things about coffee, but a lot of people like me, working, studying, or whatever, we're so busy, and I don't wake up with coffee, but like a lot of Americans do. So what would you say to them? Like, how can they actually stay awake?
Because we need to look at, okay, first of all, if you don't sleep well, of course you can stay awake. You're not going to feel energetic in the daytime.
Yeah.
And the second, if we sit all day and not really adapt any, like even just simple exercise, taking 5 minutes walk, 10 minutes walk outside and get some fresh air, we're not going to have enough oxygen in our brain. And then we're going to feel sleepy, right? So there are so many things. Like usually my first thing in the morning is to practice my 30 minutes yoga. To help me stay, just to wake myself up. However, I think the first thing this is actually one of the tips I also want to share with everybody, is that the first thing you do when you wake up is actually have a glass of water, because after a long night's sleep, you have all the waste that's not going anywhere. You need to activate your digestive system. You need to activate your urinary, those waste system, right? How do we do that? Just put some water in, lubricate it. And that, a lot of time, you can start feeling starting to wake up. And then after my exercise, if I feel like, it's a good day to have coffee, then I'll wait after like breakfast. I don't do it the first thing in the morning, or even, have a little coffee with my coworker, for lunch. That's it. But I don't drink coffee in the afternoon. I don't drink coffee to wake myself up. Especially if you, after a good night's sleep, your blood sugar is supposed to be low. Having coffee can dehydrate you, and then the blood sugar can be even lower. And then if we're not careful, we'll eat a lot of high sugar content, and then the blood sugar spikes again. It's just not a good way to be healthy.
I know. I think I'm getting the logic behind your practice now. It's instead of curing one specific thing, we need to look around to see what is causing us not to wake up fully, or why are we always tired. And instead of boosting ourselves with tea and coffee, it's to like maybe exercise, walk around between work, and having enough micronutrients. That just like what you said.
Yes. Yeah, and that's also when I select my own herbs, that's what I look at as well. Sometimes not sometimes, but I'll do a lab test and then see what the micronutrient content in the herbs as well. And then I only use the one that passed it. So it's like lifestyle change, and nutrition is also a big part of my practice as well.
Is there anything that we don't eat enough and that you would recommend?
Happiness. A lot of people feel, and I see this over and over again, poor or wealthy. It's like they eat because they feel that it's something needs to be done. We should be happy when we eat. Don't you feel that isn't that what they're supposed to do?
Yeah.
It's like, I think happiness is like, when you should be happy when you eat. We should be grateful about the food that's brought on the table. Yes, it might not be, I did have my thoughts on the nutritious state of the food, but that doesn't mean it doesn't just pop out from the thin air. It's farmers put their effort, sweat, and tear into that vegetable and grains and meat into that so that we can eat it. So I think myself, what I practice is that when I eat, I'm just very grateful of whatever that is brought in front of me and enjoy it, because every minute I can eat with my family is the most precious time. So is there something that we don't eat enough? I think just happiness.
That's awesome. Like, I am totally having a shift in mind, and it's a whole different mindset, I think, about health and alternative medicine. And I mean, from my question, you probably also know that I have that kind of conventional thought about, what we should eat, what should we not eat. But I think what you mentioned just now in the whole episode is about an attitude of towards our health, and also like to eat with a grateful heart. Awesome. Before we end, is there anything else you would like to add?
Well, I would like to wish everybody, I don't know when this is going to be aired, but I wish everybody that a happy new year, because we just have our Lunar New Year. And so in this new year, we are going to be healthier and wealthier, because if you don't have health, you don't have wealth. And that's the biggest wish I want to give everybody.
Awesome. It will be aired next month in March.
Well, it's not that far from,
That's right,
from New Year.
I know. And so, listeners, I'm going to tell you again, if you want to find Dr. Wang or her clinic, you can search on Facebook at Eastern Wellness Denver, or you can go online, www.easternwellnesscolorado.com. So that's the website. And is there any way else that they should find you with?
Well, if they want to call me, they can reach me at 720-651-8088. That's our office number. And you can call us to schedule a consultation. However, just to let everybody know that I don't, if you call, and I usually don't do consultation right away, because I do need to know a little bit more about what everybody's need is, so that I can provide, some suggestion.
Got it. So make appointments.
Yes.
And thank you for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thanks for listening to Chai with Ping. If you think someone will benefit from this episode, don't forget to share with them. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you like my show, you can buy me a chai with small gifts. Details are in the episode notes. Till next time!